When this book, Phantom Signs, which just came out, when it was being vetted, one outside reader commented, Brady seems to be obsessed with an imaginary poetical figure, H.L.Hix. I myself am extremely excited to witness the possible appearance of this tutelary spirit right here at Wilkes, and to attest with all of you that this Harvey is not imaginary. I want to share a little of my Hix studies, my contribution to Hix studies. This is, I'm going to read a part of one of nine, a long essay called 9 Phantom Signs, and I'm going to read a part of one of the signs, and the sign is X. Every 14 months, H.L.Hix delivers to me, his publisher, a manuscript. Since 2002, Etruscan has published 12 Hix titles, with 2 forthcoming. By itself, this output daunts, but Hix is the author of 27 other books in 5 genres, along with uncountable monographs, articles, and reviews. Tales of his graphomania are legion. Winter dawns, he dons Carhartt overalls to scribe in his Wyoming barn. Driving to class, he scribbles in a dashboard notebook. On an exercise bike, he memorizes sonnets. The formidable H.L.Hix, reviewers say, the indefatigable Hix, making him sound like a British battleship. Once, when questioned about the fit of a 30-page section of a manuscript regarding the Spanish Renaissance poet Fray Luis, Hix resubmitted in 18 days a completely different sequence, this one in the voice of Jesus Christ, challenging the fecundity of the loaves and fishes. The problem is that despite meticulous attention to prosody and unbridled originality, his prolificacy is often taken for verbosity. Such volume, readers think, must mean carelessness, if not self-indulgence. Even positive reviews sometimes begrudge. Hix has a reputation, says one review, for books conceived as projects, sometimes at the expense of individual poems. Hix is at best stunningly inventive, at worst prolix. Another reviewer writes, impressive enough as a phrasemaker, as builder of forms, he shines when he has some reason to compress, to edit himself, to cut things down. At a cocktail party, a pundit whispered in my ear, I finally drunk the Hix Kool-Aid. As if such labor spawned a cult. When I pitched a new Hix title to our distributor, a sales rep half-jokingly wondered if perhaps H.L.Hix and I weren't the same person, thus explaining why I published these unsaleable books. Or maybe he quipped, there is more than one Hix. And why not, I wish I'd said. After all, there are many Homers. As Hix publisher, I am not an analyst. That's those who believe there are many Homers. I am a Unitarian, those who believe there's one Homer. There is just one Hix, I say, and it's up to me to get his name into the world. Even though the project of Hix studies is to question identity, blending voices, forms, styles, and even fonts to blur the notion of a single authorship, I continue to print H.L.Hix on the front cover, racy blurbs on the back. National Book Award finalist gets stamped on each new title. While Hix writes to erase, I strive to increase visibility. I want to make a brand of dissolution. Such is Universe City. I could start a new marketing campaign, and I'm going to skip ahead here. The Muse's plan, I'll call it. But Muse sounds portentous, antiquated as troubadour or rhapsode. Instead, I'll call my scheme X, named for an intangible entity meant to address another intangible entity, people. X is the singular for plural energy. In X, poetry does not respond to people with their claims and hexes and hungers and eyeballs endlessly squinting poetry into prose. In X, poetry might flourish without people's consent or knowledge. Outside X, every perp gets the same dollop of personhood. Every Malthusian unit counts as one. In X, people equal flesh plus naught. The closer to absolute naught, the closer to X. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 19 seconds per day is the record currently held by one Emmanuel D. McCluskey, a tantric swami last seen haunting particles and waves in Woodside, Queens. In X, naught can appear excessive. Every marketing plan needs a story, and every story needs a hero. Hix is a tough sell. He is the least marketable of men. Ghostly pale, thin as a ricket, H.L.Hix sightings are rare as some endangered owl. He leads no cause, triggers no trauma, hallucinates no paradise. We could try a McPherson con and conjure up some oceanic bard for him to channel, but that's a mug's game. Look what happened when some white dude named Mike Hudson tried to pass himself off as Yi Fen Chow. To wax heroic, we'll have to make Hix from the inside. We'll call him Hexess, H-X-S. Scrabbling letters, Hexess is less singular, but not quite X. In X, Hexess has redacted everything ever written and incorporated into one excessive, H-X-S-S-E, opus with three purposes. 1, to reframe authorship, ownership, and identity. 2, to bring the technology of the alphabet to bear on the fact that the alphabet is a technology, the first to which we are exposed at so young an age that we see it not as a tool, but as a source of identity, bestowed in tablets or dreams by Thoth or Yahweh, certified by Homeric heroes Shaquille, Kobe, and LeBron, who attest in public service commercials that reading, as opposed to being gigantically athletic, is fundamental to happiness and success. 3, to become X. And then I'm going to skip ahead over the part where Hex meets Homer. They have a good conversation. And then to the ending. Finally, every story needs a dilemma. Mine is how to stop Hix from working. Ha! Good luck with that. Actually, my quandary is more difficult. I can't slow him, so I need to make Hix's work appear not to be work. As Yeats droned back in the first chapter when we hardly knew each other, a line will take us hours maybe, but if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching have been naught. Yeats understood that the reviews, the quips, the gossip, the buzzkill all reflect a zero-sum attitude. Only a given amount of authentic inspiration is allotted to each poet. Poetry can't look like work. Prose scribblers like Oates or Updike or King or Mailer don't suffer such criticism, or if they are tweaked, it's for repetition. Hix's poetry, according to reviewers, is philosophically ambitious, multiformed, pithy, kaleidoscopic. There is simply too much. Poetry, however original, cannot be trusted to the industry of human hands. The more Hix manufactures, the less poetical he appears. When his Carhartts crouch over the plywood board and he peers through unpainted cracks at the endless winter dawn and skates his quill across foolscap, he is H.L.Hix, not Homer or LeBron. Hix produces worse work. It is his HS. X is what we used to call the Muse. Seeing poetry as a work product privileges intention over inspiration. Poetry becomes a closed system, people writing for people. Why mimic conventions of the Vatican? Why spiral skyward into incoherence? Why imprecate? Why chant? Why rock? Why even rhyme? With no muse to charm, why not just say what you mean? Yeats feared work so much he played hooky with fairies and students from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Madame Blavatsky and communicators and Rosicrucians. For all the work of his weary heart, Yeats spent most of his life peering forlornly through text to glimpse X. He's not alone. All book wrights eventually wind up weary-hearted. Sidney comes halting forth, and Milton's sun is dark, and Wordsworth would suckle pagans, and Pound cannot make it cohere, and Williams won't say what the pens, and Moore too dislikes it. We all long for a time when lines were conceived and spoken in one breath. The day my heart wearied, people shaved my chest and wheeled me into a room of processed light. X, they mercurochromed. But nothing changed. Time ticked in again, moment by moment, counted backward, one by one, like sentences. I never glimpsed cosmic scale, no earth-sized atom. Each breath reprised no poem. Was my life contained in naught? People had cut into my chest, held my heart in their hands, and replaced it. But returning from Avernus, I was dumb as Elpenor. Thus I repented. I went back to work. Da-da, 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 da-da. From my heart's X, I made my phantom sign. Don't wobble, I told myself. Hold everything straight. Hold minutes, days, years, stanzas, books. Work has no muse. The muse is X. Meanwhile, H.S. is vanished. Homeros clawed all the way up to Queens. Whether he was born or died, he lives. X marks his spot. One and one and one, and never numerous.